that, first of all, we can help you through. And secondly, in a way where when you're done with putting a little program together, you might have something useful. So here's what we've done with the exercises. This is a show goal, basically, an idea for a show to put together. And rather than describe the steps you're going to do, we've described basically what the audience will see on the dome, or what you're going to try to make visible for the audience. So we're communicating the ideas, and you need to figure out how to execute it in ATM-4. So I'm going to have Brad walk through the exercise in a minute, but a couple of suggestions. Everybody can certainly work at their own pace, however they like. We have no rules for how you go through it. We're not necessarily suggesting that you have to do it in order, although it would be good if you did. The key thing is Kelly, Brad, and I are here to answer questions in real time. So at any moment, any thought that comes to your mind, anything you want to have clarity on, please raise your hand or just speak up, and we'll be right there to help you. So this is meant to be interactive. We're not trying to test you and go silent and make you work for many minutes without input. We want to help you through this. So please bother us as much as you possibly can for how to do it. Brad has just put the list of what you're going to do up in the chat. So you want to grab that and download it. And I'll turn it over to Brad to explain what we're doing.
All right. Looks like we also have Dan and Todd currently in here. So you can ask them for questions for help as well. But so yeah. Yep. Who?
Kelly.
Yeah. Well, Scott mentioned Kelly. But,
no, that's right.
I'm sorry, Dan. No offense to Dan. I completely.
No. I'm taken.
You're less interesting than chicken wings, Dan. That's all.
I know.
He had stepped away, so he wasn't visible.
Right.
Okay.
I can probably answer questions too. I'm not an official proctor though.
Yes. Really, anyone, if you know the answer, I mean, you can do our job for us. That'd be fantastic.
Questions.
Okay. So yeah, I dropped the PDF of the exercises into the chat. So hopefully everyone can get a look at that. I'll go ahead and share my screen here so we can kind of read through them together. Okay. So it's kind of designed so that each step should build a little bit on the previous one. And so some of this stuff you'll have to go into Starry Night and maybe set a favorite up for specific settings before you go into ATM-4 to control it that way. So you do kind of want to go like in order. If you kind of skip around, you might miss something that, maybe something in part 2 is setting something up for part 3. But it might be a good idea to read through all of them, or at least a fair number of them, so that you can kind of tell, oh, in a couple of steps, I'm going to need to turn this on. So it might be a better way to do it like this instead of like this. And as you go through this, I think it'll kind of make a little bit more sense to you. So I'll read the first couple here just to kind of get you an idea of how we've written it and what we're kind of expecting here. The very first one is to display a scene where time flow is stopped, beginning with the sun above the horizon on March 1. So is the majority of that part going to be ATM-4, or is the majority of that going to be setting up in Starry Night?
Starry Night.
Starry Night, right? So you're going to be setting all of this stuff in Starry Night and saving it as a favorite, and then displaying a scene. That's where ATM-4 comes in. So you're using ATM-4 to display the scene, but first you're going to have to set it up in Starry Night. Make sense? And so once you display that scene, we want that view to be up on the dome for some unspecified amount of time so that you can discuss it with the audience. So we're not telling you keep it up for 10 seconds, for 30 seconds. It's just keep it up there so that you can talk for as long as you want or as little as you want while that's up there. Make sense? Kind of have an idea of what you might do with that, hopefully. So then after that, so you've set this scene up, right? The sun is just above the horizon on March 1st. Now we have the sun slowly setting. So that might help determine where you put the sun above the horizon, right? If we want the next step to be the sun is slowly setting, well, probably gives you a good idea of which horizon you want to be above. But that's just my 2 cents. Then continue advancing time until the stars in Leo are near the zenith of the dome. So basically, get Leo pretty much on the meridian, the middle of your render box window, and then stop time. Okay, should be fairly straightforward. A few things going on there, right? But pretty much kind of moving Leo so that it's right in the front of the dome. So then keep going on. Now we turn on, so now that the stars of Leo are where we want them, now we're turning on the stick figure of Leo, then the illustration of Leo, and then we're pausing the show so that we can discuss Leo. So first we're getting Leo, the stars where we want them. And then once they're there, we want the stick figure and the illustration to show up in that order. And then we want plenty of time to talk about what we're looking at. Okay, so this might influence how you set your initial scene up, or you can do this all in ATM-4. It's your prerogative. Both ways would work here. And then slowly fade to black. So that's kind of the first segment there. So like Scott said, as you're working, if you have questions, ask any of us. If you think you're doing it right and you want to just make sure, ask any of us. We'll all be checking the chat window. You can unmute yourself by all means. This is a much more interactive session than a lot of the ones we've been in before, because we're not really here kind of stepping through a bunch of new things. It's a workshop area. It's for you to play around with it, and we can help you out as you're doing that. So feel free to shout out questions or type them in the chat window, and we're here for
This
you.
view will be on the dome for an unspecified amount of time, allowing you to discuss the scene with the audience. Next. Okay, so I need to.
Yep.
I'll save
All right. So yeah, go ahead and everyone kind of get started. If you have any questions before you do.
So let's see.
And we'll kind of check in every 5 minutes or so just to make sure everyone's on the right track and no one's really stuck in the woods. Yeah.
About how long should the show be?
Show can be however long you want it to be. You could cram everything together if you want. You could have it really, really spread out. It's how long would you like this type of a show to be? That's kind of the question. If you were making a show where the sun was setting and Leo was coming up, and then you were talking like, how long would you want that process to take? So
Yeah, I have no idea because I've never made a show before. So like
that's fine. I mean, anywhere where we don't explicitly tell you, take 10 seconds to do this, it can be as long as you want. It could be.
Yeah, but I want to
really
specify
fast.
the show length.
Yeah,
Well,
we're not specifying a show length.
Yeah, your show length probably doesn't need to be any longer for this one than maybe 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
The thing to keep in mind, and I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but you want to put in opportunities in your ATM-4 script to just go full stop, have what's on the dome for as long as you want it to be, and then continue again. So I didn't give away that here's how you do that, but you want the ability to make your show stop at times, right?
Sure. I just wanted to know like what I should specify for the show length at the beginning. But 10 minutes is fine. Okay, thanks.
That's a good question. And oftentimes no one really thinks about it. I think it defaults to 10 minutes. Kelly, you can confirm this, but often what we'll do is just let the show be 10 minutes and it builds itself bigger as you go. So pre-specifying a show time is really kind of not a thing with ATM-4. Folks just don't worry about that.
The one additional thing I'll mention here is that, we only have, this is a 50-minute session and we've already used a fair, amount of that. So you probably don't want to kind of plan for a 10-minute show because, if you're testing stuff out and running it through, you don't want long periods of time just to verify that something works, right? And we don't anticipate anyone getting all the way through all the 14 of these, but this is to kind of get you on the right track. And then, later on you can continue, and if you have questions, email us and get in contact with us later. But we've been talking too much, so unless you have other questions, go ahead and get started. Good luck. And everyone has this, right? I can stop sharing my screen. Raise your hand or give me some signal if you don't have this.
Where is it located?
I put it in the chat window. I can drop it in there again if need be.
Yeah.
Towards the top. All right. Perfect.
We happy?
And don't forget, there are breakout rooms that we can make if you have something that you want to talk a little bit more detail about. We can send you into a breakout room with Dan or Kelly or Todd. So.
All right, I'm stuck already.
Jeez.
Yep.
With
That's
things
okay.
that I've done a million times too. I created a favorite. I saved it. I didn't pay attention to where I saved it. Couldn't find it. So I said, okay, I'll save another favorite. So now I'm in a scene I like, and it's grayed out save favorite. It's grayed out add favorite.
You say you can use add favorite, or they're both grayed out?
They're both gray. Yeah, I thought the
You
add.
may have a dialogue hidden in the background somewhere. Is it asking you if you want to overwrite an old one, maybe behind a window? That would explain it.
I mean, there's something back here. Yep. Okay. Okay, let's see what that does. I forget to do that, especially when I'm on the PC. And I still can't add a favorite.
Nate, try this will mess up what you just did.
I homed it and did that. Started over.
Try loading like another user favorite, not an application favorite, but load like if you've made any other favorites, like load one of the ones you've made, and then see if the save favorite is not grayed out.
Good point. It's possible that if you looked at a favorite from the applications folder, it thinks you're trying to overwrite one of those and you're not allowed to. Yeah.
Could be. Let's see. Trying to find where there's a user favorite I can use. Okay. So that one came up. And now it looks like I can choose favorites again. So I'll try it again. I'll get back to you if I need you.
Yay, Brad.
Thank you. Good job, team.
All right, I'm checking out the rest of the day now.
So I've got a question. I am trying to set up my auto identify. And when I click on the illustration and the stick figure, I get Pegasus that comes up. And I'm trying to figure out how to shut Pegasus off, and I don't know why it's on there.
Don't actually click on the text that says auto identify. What that means is whatever is at the zenith, show it automatically. What you want to make sure you do is the little arrow next to it, click on it so you see the 4 things underneath auto identify. Show boundary, show illustration, show name, show stick figure. you want to click one of those 4 to select what's auto-identified. You don't want to click the button next to the words auto-identify. Does that make sense, Rick? That's a dumb feature that Starry Night put in 20 years ago, so that if you just wanted to see whatever constellation was prominent in the sky, it would automatically show it for you.
Well, I didn't know about that, so I just learned something. Woo!
Well, a little geeky background Starry Night knowledge. That is what auto-identify was for 15 years. And when we said, hey, we would like a way for ATM-4 to turn on a particular thing, stick figure, illustration, whatever, when Clint built it, he just decided to shove it under auto-identify because it kind of sort of sounded like the same thing. But that whole feature was intended to be whatever happens to be up in the sky, show it automatically.
Okay, I have a question. I have my opening scene favorite saved. It's on ATM. I have a pause, and then I have my next scene where it's moving. I don't know how to get it to stop where Leo is right at the zenith. Is
What
that
we
something?
would recommend is, rather than doing that with a new scene, put a time cue in, put the time in the favorite, and then use a time cue to start the time rolling.
Okay. You might have said that to someone else. I feel like that's familiar. Sorry, I wasn't listening.
Here's a general rule. The more you can do with a single favorite, the more work it'll save you, right? If you can make one favorite and then roll the time or turn the daylight off or turn the horizon off, that'll save you time building a bunch of favorites.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Thank you.
In ATM-4, when you're doing like a time queue, is it military time?
Doesn't have to be. I mean, there's an option for that. In Starry Night, in the time area, the little hamburger to the left, if you click on that, you have the option of going into UT Universal Time or not. That's something that you can set.
Question, guys. I know that there's a list of all the different shortcuts. And I know it was in maybe one of the manuals, but could we get that into the resources too?
Short answer, yes.
Long answer?
Brad, the reason I'm hedging is Brad would know where it is and I would have no idea.
Yeah, no, yeah, I did say I was going to put the Starry Night manual in there, and I forgot to last night. But yeah, I'll throw that in ATM-4. I think I have a Layered Earth one on hand as well. So yeah, I'll throw those in the resource.
Brad, tell me if I'm heading
Perfect.
people on a goose chase, but isn't there a hotkeys document that Dan put together as course notes?
Yeah.
Found in the course
Yeah,
notes?
there is, and we can put that in there as well. Or you can just have Dan recite all of them. I'm sure he has them all right on the tip of his tongue.
They are not memorized in the brain like that. They're memorized at my fingers.
There's
So
a name for
angle
that.
angle your webcam down at your keyboard and then you
There
just
you
watch.
go. Isn't that called eidetic memory or something like that? Memory that where you can physically do it, but you don't remember what it's called.
I don't know what it's called, but all I know is where my fingers go. Quinn wants the using ATM again.
Can you be a little more specific, Quinn? Like which file do you want? Like the exercises or my intro to ATM-4 notes? Sorry, I was already in the process of putting both of them there. So pick the one that you actually wanted and ignore the other one.
Brad, was that document in the resources anywhere?
The exercises isn't yet. I'm going to be uploading it shortly here.
Okay.
So I got Leo in the right place, but I think I did it a messy way. I just used the timeline to extend out after the scene opened up. There's got to be a more efficient way of doing that.
So you had the scene and then just started time and then you stopped time some ways down the road.
Exactly.
Yep, that's a perfectly acceptable way of doing that. The other way, if you want to do it with just one cue, is if you remember in the time cue, there's the stop at position option.
Yes.
If you turn that on, you can tell it exactly when you want it to stop. You just have to be careful with that and make sure that you put in the correct day, the correct hour, the correct time zone. Because if you're off by an hour, or you have the stop time before the start time, then it's never going to stop. But that if you get that right, you can do all of that in one cue if you want.
Makes sense. Thanks, Brad. Although that.
But the way you did it is fine.
Why is it that? Let's see if it's still doing this. Had some interesting time issues here. Yeah, Starry Night thinks it's 10:57. My computer says it's 11:28. I've tried to sync them. I'm like, Why does Starry Night not match with my computer?
I would actually check your render box since in your item, because time is the one piece of information that goes from render box to pre-flight. And so when when Starry Night syncs up with the time, it's syncing up with the render box.
So is that in my render box graphs?
No, it would be your actual render box computer's clock. It's
Yeah.
probably wrong.
Okay. All right.
So we want to go over to that
another time.
Right. Also, on your question about getting time to stop when you want it, if you just feel like doing it all live, you could also just put another, you could just pause as the time starts rolling and then unpause to stop the time. You could just put them right next to each other and put a pause in between. You'd have to watch your sky moving during your show and then just hit unpause to stop it.
Right.
But a lot of people do that as well.
Yeah, I have presenters that work for me, so I'm trying to make it as simple as possible in ATM-4. Because if you think I'm in trouble, you should meet them.
We do not think you're in trouble.
We're all learning together. It's fun. Thank you, sir. Sirs.
I am super struggling. Could I get into a breakout room with someone? Please?
Sure thing.
Brad, can you put us both in a breakout room? I've never done that before. So
Yeah.
like the Matrix, I'm going to eat a pill.
Nice.
I
It's
also
fun.
having the same. I'm just struggling. Could I also get some help?
Taylor, are you struggling to like get started or like, I
let's
don't know if we
have Taylor, let's have Taylor break out with either Dan or Kelly.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's fine.
I've got like my favorites saved, but for some reason I can't like access it through
Mhm.
Yeah, you can send with me. I don't see Kelly actually. So.
Kelly is already in a breakout room.
Oh, perfect.
So Dan, if you're happy, and
I'm
Todd
ready.
and I can stay here with everyone
Get you
else.
next time, Batman.
Nice. Yeah, who's changing names?
Well, we all are. It's all Todd's fault.
Yeah, it's fine, except for the people that don't have their cameras on and want to go into a room and I don't know who they are.
Oh, sorry. I'll get you Batman as me.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you Batman. Okay, see, that's helpful. And then I think I sent Taylor, you were wanting to go into with Dan, right? Yes.
Yes.
There we go.
Guys, I'm frozen right now, but I'm still having trouble with my transition. So I've got my scene set up, and when I change, I think I'm having trouble with the time. So after my scene, do I go in for a pause and then do it?
What does it say here? So display a scene, or time to stop, blah, blah. This view will be on the dome for an unspecified amount of time. So that's our way of kind of saying, yeah, we want, some way for the show to be paused while the scene is up there. And then after that is when you start time. So when you're ready for the show to start again, that's when you want time to flow. Does that make sense? Oh, you muted yourself again.
Yeah. And then I could save that as another favorite.
You can. You don't have
or just hit the time myself like I normally do.
Yeah. Once you set that scene up, a lot of this can just be ATM-4. You don't have to go back to Starry Night every time.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh. How are people doing? Plugging along? Does anyone have like that first kind of group done before the step 4 fade to black, kind of the Leo section? Yeah. Anyone stuck on anything?
I'm having an issue. I get it to runtime, but I can't get it to then stop where I want it.
So does this time just not stop at all, or?
Make sure that you have the right time zone. That's usually what kills me on those.
Yeah, if you're trying to do it with one time cue, yeah, you want to make sure you get that all in place properly.
You use the time or the rate?
This time.
Time? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
found it.
Yeah, the rate queue, if you open that up, you won't see anything having to do with time.
So I've got on my ATM-4, I've got, it stops playing ATM-4, but what I see on my render box and the preview, or it's not stopping or it's not pausing.
Right. Well, the pause queue, remember, only pauses ATM-4, the ATM-4 show. If you want Starry Night, if time is running in Starry Night, that's where the time queue comes into play. Starry Night needs to be told to stop running time.
Okay, so I need to stop that in Starry Night, not in ATM-4.
No, you can stop it using ATM-4. It's just a different queue than pause. All pause does is pause the ATM-4 show. So ATM-4 is not sending any more commands.
Okay.
So it's fine putting a pause then in, but after the pause, for Starry Night to stop, you have to have a time cue telling Starry Night to stop.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's the key.
And then I guess while I'm still here, I am trying to toggle on the lines.
Okay.
Now in my favorite, I set up to auto identify, I guess, I think is what it was.
The show lines under there.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And
good.
illustration, I had both of those clicked. Okay.
And what we want you to do first is just bring up the stick figure, right? So first off, how do you, in ATM-4, the question is, how do you bring up one constellation? How do you show one constellation?
Maggie, you should teach everybody.
I can do that now.
Because I don't know.
Go ahead.
You need a list function. And when you click on that, the top one, you'll change it to constellations, and then the bottom will say Leo. And then you want to click the on.
But then there's the second part of it, which is how ATM-4 tells Starry Night to make first a stick figure and then an illustration.
Yeah, for that, you'll need the toggles. So for each individual one, you'll need, like, when I say individual, I mean like label or illustration or stick figure, you'll need like a separate toggle to turn it on. And make sure that you set it to on an individual constellation, whatever you're looking for.
Yeah, there's a toggle called toggle individual constellation illustration, toggle individual stick figure, toggle individual label. That's what allows you to separately do stick figures, labels. And the one thing you want to remember is if you're using ATM-4 to do it, make sure they're all turned off in auto identify. Otherwise, they'll just come up automatically and ATM-4 won't have control.
So you have to list them first.
Not necessarily. You could say toggle individual stick figure, and then 20 seconds later actually have the constellation appear. The toggle individual is just specifying when it appears, which am I going to see? So say toggle individual stick figure not associated with a constellation, it'll do nothing at all until you say, I want to see Leo. And then that cue is going to say, and not only do I see Leo, I see its stick figure, or I see its illustration, or I see its name, or whatever.
Okay.
So the list shows it. The toggle decides what graphic it's going to be.
Hey, Brad. What does it mean when you say slowly fade to black? Like our entire screen is gonna go black?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
I don't know if I know how to do that.
The word black should trigger you there.
Yes, it does. Okay, thank you.
I should mention too, don't take that to mean that there's this convention that shows ought to fade to black between scenes. We just wanted to make sure you understood what it meant to crossfade into a black scene.
Is fading to transparent just unfading?
What was the question?
Is fading to transparent just unfading? Is that what that is, or is that something else?
Did we use the words fade to transparent?
No, but in the ATM, there's an option to be too black or too transparent.
Yeah, you have discovered the fade to black cue, which is another way of fading to black. You don't there's a cue that we didn't cover that instead of using a black scene in Starry Night, you can just fade everything to black. And what that essentially does is put a black image on top of everything, and then fading to transparent would take that away.
Did you guys put that feature in and not tell me?
Oh no, it's been there for a long time.
Has it? Did I put that feature in and then drink too much and forget?
Gonna say it's been there a while.
Quite possibly. It's been there since before I've been at Spit, Scott.
Wow, I must have, I don't know. That maybe Reese was just thinking ahead, or Millard. That could be the Millard days, actually.
Wait, how did you say that you can do that again?
In ATM-4, there is a cue called fade to black, which just puts a black slide essentially on top of everything and then takes
Oh,
it.
FB. I thought you meant it loaded.
FB.
Sorry, Brad. I thought you meant
yeah.
it loaded a black scene that we had.
No.
Black scenes. Oh, yeah. Fade to, right. Yeah. The reason we did that was because favorites, a black favorite stops time. And sometimes you want the time to continue rolling or animation to continue happening, and your dome to go to black without everything freezing up.
So then if I go back and change a favorite that I set up and put in ATM-4, I change that favorite in Starry Night. It is not changed in ATM-4 then, unless I reload it. Is that correct?
No, it should. The moment the timeline encounters that favorite, anything that you saved you'll see on the dome. So make sure you don't have two favorites with similar names or something, but let's say you save the favorite with daylight on and then you instantly went back into Starry Night and turned the daylight off and saved the favorite. As soon as you run your script, that change will be invoked in the favorite.
Good.
Yeah, but you do have to run the script first, because ATM-4 actually has no idea what the favorite is, and it
Oh
doesn't.
yeah, it won't change what's on your dome until ATM-4 executes it again. Like again, the dome never changes unless the script actually says do something different. The timeline has to encounter a cue in order for you to see anything different.
Just so everyone's aware, I put all the manuals, Starry Night, Layered Earth, ATM-4, with the course notes. So there's a new folder there called Manuals. I put Dan's hotkeys paper under Dan's folder. And I put the exercises that we're working here under Scott's folder. So that's all been updated. And we are technically at 250. How did this go? People get some progress, get some things done, learn some things, remember some things.
Did anybody get to the point where they were setting up the Earth from space thing, or okay,
Awesome.
Successful?
That's where I'm at, but I do have one quick question. When I faded my screen to black, I did the fade to black, and then I'll do another one that's fade to transparent. My scene where I show the Earth, whatever the directions are, like 10,000 kilometers above or whatever, does that need to go right at the same time that I fade to transparent, or does it go like right after, or like what's the timing
it
for
makes
that?
sense if you're using a fade to black cue, an FB cue to get you to black. It makes sense to load the favorite before you fade back to transparent, because Starry Night will load that favorite in the background, so that as you begin fading back to transparent, all you'll see is the Earth. You don't really want to see, as we're coming out of black, it goes from your sky scene to Earth. You want Earth appearing from black, right? So I would load that scene while you're in the black mode, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. I hadn't used that particular cue before, so I wasn't sure how it worked. Thank you.
All right. So I'll leave this room open for a couple more minutes. People want to finish what they're working on, and by all means, keep working on this later today if you want. Just a reminder that lunch tomorrow, we do have extra long. So if people want to share stuff that they've worked on, you kind of like how you did it, or you're curious if you did it right or whatnot. Tomorrow's lunch, hopefully we'll get some people kind of sharing what they've worked on during the week. So you'll have a chance to do that if you want. But if you don't have any questions and you're ready to head out, the next 2 sessions on the schedule, Michael is going to be taking you through some photo editing. So how to, if you have some images that you want to display on your dome through Starry Night, how do you do it? What are some tricks that you can do to make them display nicer? So there's things you can do beforehand so that it looks better when you get it up on the dome. So he's going to be doing that. And then Scott is going to be having a session on musical editing. So not just, not really how do you put it into ATM-4, because we kind of covered that yesterday or Tuesday, whatever day it was, and putting music into your ATM-4 show, but what can you do ahead of time to make the music better? So so we're kind of getting into images and media and whatnot in the next session. So and then there's always the networking room. If you want to kind of take a break, go over there, just kind of chat with some people. That room is open as well. So see some of you in Scott's, and hopefully others will be in Michael's. And good luck finishing this.
Anybody have time for a quick question or two?